Hi everyone, well thanks again for joining me on another house therapy staging DIY video. Well, this week I shared with you in an earlier post, one of my favorite go-to spots when I'm shopping for a client for a restyling project is Target. My other favorite go-to spot is TJ Maxx Home Goods. Now, I love TJ Maxx, and sometimes for some people, I know that it could be super overwhelming, there's a lot of merchandise, it's kind of cluttered, but for me, I love it. I love the hunt, and sometimes I find myself in the clearance section. I can sometimes find something that will work for a project, but most of the time I find a lot of leftover merchandise, broken and mixed matched items. Well, I thought to myself, that would be an amazing DIY video, is taking on the clearance section and doing TJ Maxx Hack DIY project. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to take one of the items that I posted in yesterday's Instagram post. I selected 3 different items, and I'm going to take one and restyle it into something fresh, new, and useful. So let's get started. So what item did I end up choosing? I chose the storage unit with all of the drawers. This piece used to be $24.99 and then it was marked down to $12, probably because it's missing a knob. Well, I'm gonna take this storage piece. I don't even know really what the storage piece is really for. Is it for jewelry? Is it for a desktop? I don't know, but I'm gonna change it to something more useful and more modern looking. The first thing that I wanna do is take this handle off. I want to use the top of this piece, and I want it to be clear. I'm gonna take the other knobs off. So let's get started. So I'm going to remove the handlebar, and the first thing that I notice is that they're screwed in with a couple of screws. So I'm going to take my screwdriver and unscrew each side. Might have to apply a little bit of pressure, but it should come off pretty easily. Great, there's one side. Now I'm going to do the other. So here we are. The handlebar came off pretty easily by just unscrewing a couple screws, but I'm going to hold on to this and save it for later. The next item that I want to get rid of are the knobs, since I'm already missing one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drawer, and actually I'm going to take the storage unit, I'm going to lay it flat. Take one of the drawers that I want to get rid of the knobs, and I'm going to place the drawer kind of where the empty space of where the drawer used to be, take my hammer and a flathead, and I'm going to take the flathead, I'm going to put it right where the knob is connected. It's only glued in, it's not screwed in, so I'm just going to pop it so it just pops off. There we go. Oh, you want to help, Rocky? I'm going to go ahead and do that for another drawer. So the next thing I want to do is I don't want to keep this color, this like blonde color wood. I want to change it into something a little bit more modern. So I'm going to take some spray paint, and I chose this blue color, and I'm going to just spray the whole thing down, and I'm going to also spray the drawers as well. So I'm not really liking how the blue's turning out. It's a little bit brighter than I want it to be. So I'm going to add this navy color spray paint right on top of it to make it a little bit darker and a little more saturated. So the main piece of the desktop organizer is all nice and navy blue. So the next pieces that I need to spray paint will be the 2 drawers that we removed. Now we need to spray paint them blue too. So we painted all of our pieces, and look how great it turned out. I love the color. It's bright navy blue, and it has really good coverage. Guys, I really love this Krylon spray paint. It has primer and also the paint mixed with it, so I think that's what gives it a really good, nice coverage. So let's move on to putting on some new knobs. So now it's time to put some knobs on our freshly painted drawers. So I went to Target and I got these great looking brass knobs. They were only $7.99 and they're by threshold. I love it. But the one thing that I noticed for the screws that they include in the packaging is that they're much longer because they're made for actual cabinets that are a lot thicker, and these drawers are really thin. So what I ended up doing was I went to my favorite hardware store, which you guys know, which is Osh. So I asked one of the salespeople if they could help me find a screw that is not as long as what came with the knobs, and a little bit shorter, so that it can actually just go through our thinner drawer. And the sales guy totally helped me out. I found a screw that was half the length of what is given to us in this knob set. So next thing we're gonna do is take our knobs and our new screws and we're gonna screw it in. So the last step and the best step of all is now putting it all together. All you need to do is just gonna add the drawers to this new modern looking desktop and add my accessories. You know I love to accessorize. There we go. We have a little desktop calendar that can now be placed on top. I'm gonna add some great looking scissors, some fancy pens so the kids don't use them, and there's now slots for your mail. So the main piece of the TGI Maxx Hack Challenge is completed into a really nice looking modern desktop organizer, but it's not over yet. I'm going to take every single piece of that item and I'm going to turn it into something new and fresh. So I'm going to take one of the drawers and I'm going to make it into a corkboard display to go with our desktop organizer. So the first step I did was to spray paint the sides of the drawers. And I went to Michael's and I got these corkboard tiles, and it comes in a pack of 4. I measured out this size and I cut it into this size, and all I'm going to do next is glue it on top. Now that I added some cork to my drawer, I want to be able to hang it. So I decided that I would like to use something new and something different. So I grabbed an old leather belt, and it's like fake leather, so it's really soft and pretty thin. And I'm going to use it as the straps to hold up for the corkboard display. Actually, I saw something similar at Target, so I think this is kind of like a Target hack too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the belt part, so I'm not needing any of the belt holes or the belt trim at all. I just want the leather, so I'm going to just go ahead and cut that off. There we go. Voila, one. And the second one. Done. I'm going to glue it down to the sides, and actually I'm going to glue one side right on top of where that hole is, so that will cover that. So I glued on the straps to each of the sides here, and I noticed that one side was a little bit longer, so I'm just going to go ahead and snip a little bit off. It was about like an inch a little bit longer on one side, so I'm going to just snip it off so that it is equal to each other. Great, that looks a little bit better. And then last, what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of hardware to the straps. So I'm going to take this gold, it's like an inch length gold nail. And I'm going to go ahead and hammer it in to the sides, and I'm going to do it in a slight angle, so it's not directly down. So it's going more into the leather rather than the actual drawer. There we go. Perfect. So here is the nail that I put into the strap, and it's not even coming through to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side. So I'm gonna take on this TJ Maxx Hack Challenge, take every single piece of the storage unit and make a good use out of them. I'm gonna take the last drawer, and remember this handlebar? I'm gonna make it into a jewelry stand. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray paint it gold. So our pieces are nicely spray painted gold. See how nice it came out? And remember the bar that we had, so I painted that as well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some post to make it into a jewelry stand. So last month I actually went to a wedding and they were giving out these cute little like bubble favors, and I kept them and because my kids used all the bubbles, and I'm going to use them actually as the stand. And now I know not everyone has these random pieces lying around, but that's the whole point of a hack, is trying to be creative and try to find something useful in the house so that you can repurpose it into a project like this. So I'm going to use these favor stands. They're plastic cylinders. And I'm going to go ahead and glue them to the inside of this drawer. So I've already measured out the center of the drawer, and I marked each place, and I'm gonna have the distance about 1 inch apart from each other, like that. And I've already marked it, like I said, and I'm gonna grab my hot glue gun, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue it down to the center. And start doing the other side. Take my other plastic piece, make sure that they're nicely lined up, and put pressure down as well. So now I have 2 posts for my jewelry stand. So for this jewelry stand, I'm gonna have to put some fabric down so that the pieces, when you have it inside, they don't move around. So I went to Michael's and I got this felt squares, and they actually already have adhesive in the back. So I thought that was a lot easier than just cutting it and then gluing it down. So one step that I don't have to worry about. I already pre-measured and cut out the size of the drawer. The next step is I'm going to go ahead and make holes into the felt pieces so that I can insert it down to the jewelry stand. How am I gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna grab a piece of chalk like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lightly make a mark on top of each of the plastic cylinders. And I'm gonna grab the piece of felt fabric and I'm gonna lay it right on top so it can make the mark of the plastic dowels. Take my piece of felt and lay it directly down as if I'm gonna put it down. Apply a little pressure so that it makes the mark. And it made the mark. See, it's pretty light, but it's gonna be just enough so that I can go ahead and cut out the circles. So now I cut the pieces into the circle shape, and I'm gonna take the backing off, and this is gonna be the true test and see if it really all worked out to the measurement. Kind of have to be careful because this felt piece sticky, and you're gonna have to just shove it down and then lay it flat and watch out for wrinkles. Try to smooth it out slowly. I'm gonna tap each corner and press it out. The thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and glue the top of each of the plastic cylinders and then put the handlebar right on top. Try to do this pretty. see, straight. Okay, looks pretty good. So I'm gonna apply some pressure. So one last step is to cover the hole that used to be the drawer. So what I decided to do was I'm gonna grab one of my crystals. I collect a lot of crystals, and I have this one. I thought that it would go really well with this piece. But if you don't have any crystals laying around, I would like to suggest maybe an old piece of jewelry, another knob, something decorative that can cover up this hole. So I'm just going to go ahead, take this crystal, and I'm going to glue it down to this jewelry stand. So there you have it. I was able to take one clearance item from the TJ Maxx store and hack it and change it into 3 super cool looking, modern, useful pieces for the home. So if you like this video, make sure to like it below, share it with a friend, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're not going to want to miss out on next week's DIY video. And as always, share beauty, share inspiration. I'll see you next time. Bye.